your company is, you better write on your homepage at the moment that you do something with experience. So it is completely misunderstood in our understanding, and it is also within most industries and most brands, is completely underestimated what happens at the moment. So that's why we chose this topic, and we try to bring it a little bit together. So first we start with 2 views on that. I will do that quickly first, and then Serdar joins into that chapter. I just want to show you this little impression. There's something in our DNA, I call it the inefficiency of human being, that drives us and that we can stimulate within that. So if you would have handled this chewing gum over to this kid, it would have not even close to as good as it was when it comes out there. And what we have to understand is that within developed economies and developed countries like ours, we will have to change our view on how marketing and branding has to be done. So most companies, most brands that we know that have been very successful in the past, built their success and their legacy on a specific behavior of society, which was mainly driven by the accumulation of wealth. And status was mainly been represented by property. So I know from my parents, and maybe you also know a lot of people who said, you know, when I turn 65, then life will be great because the house is paid, the kids moved out, I don't have to work anymore, and then the heart attack reaches you with 68. So I think that's a pretty unfair deal, and I do understand why most generations nowadays are not willing to attend that plan for their specific life. So what we have to understand within developed countries, that we are already crossing that border, that frontier from the wealth-driven economy to an experience economy. And I do believe that most people who will die, this generation, then the next generations, when they will die with 85, 95, that's what they will reach by statistics. I strongly believe that they will die and not owning 1 cent. And they said it was a hell of a ride, and I'm so glad it was perfect, okay? So that's what we have to take into consideration if we talk about branding and marketing. And what I'm not talking about, and this is one of the biggest misunderstandings, in German there's a word that is called Einkaufserlebnis. I'm not talking about Einkaufserlebnis. I don't know if you ever had an Einkaufserlebnis. I never had one because that is fake news, okay? There is no Einkaufserlebnis. I'm talking about a multi-dimensional perspective of experience. It has to be unique and unknown. It has to create and enable active participation. It has to be multisensorial, it has to be interconnected, and we have to recontextualize it when it comes to space and time. So that is a very complex thing to do, and if you want to scale that, if you want to manage that on a global scale, that is a specific core competence that brands and companies have to be able to deliver in the future if they want to be successful.
Great, thanks, Marc. So let's talk about luxury. Everyone has his own definition of what luxury is. My definition of luxury is actually the freedom of choice. There is a trend forecasting agency in London which is called the Future Laboratory, and I really like the work they have done a couple of years ago, and they're updating this every year. It's called the 5 stages of luxury. These 5 stages talk about individual definitions of luxury, which is kind of an evolution, which doesn't mean that you don't live in many of such. So let's look into it. Stage 1, it's called acquisition and value. This is about products that help you to build status in the old luxury society. We know them, you all know them, they are obvious, they are bold, they are opulent. People show the brand, they like to show the logo, etc. The next stage, the second stage of luxury, is called discernment and worth. Here it's about quality, artisanship, and tradition. So actually, content now becomes more important. So information becomes more important than the product even. People want to understand where does it come from, how is it produced, etc., etc. The next stage is called emotion and experience. Here, actually, the consumer wants to be part of the whole product, which means the emotional impact is what creates the differentiation. The next stage, talking about responsible and aware. Thanks. Responsible and aware, this is about people that care. So they care about responsible consumption. They want to understand how products are produced and how sustainable they are, and this is what then makes the differentiation. Next stage is about intellectual and poetic. So in such stage, this is when people many times have been able to buy every product they could buy. They have their phones, they have their cars, they have their houses, and all of a sudden they recognize they forget about themselves. So I don't need to tell you about this, but I think you all know about this huge demand in yoga retreats, mindful experiences, experiences that actually change your way of thinking about your life and further evolution of your mind and the soul. And all of this summarized are the 5 stages, and what we see clearly is that the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th stage are all experience-driven. And for the future consumer, all brands need to develop into these spaces to really be able to engage their consumers in a meaningful way and build a community.
So let's have a little reality check. And we have to understand that within marketing and branding, we have been all trained on a specific paradigm that we apply. And I want to encourage you to rethink that. We have to apply a new paradigm because marketing was created to stimulate demand. You don't need to stimulate demand anymore because nobody needs anything within developed countries. You don't need a t-shirt, you don't need a shoe, you don't need nothing. Nobody needs anything, basically, I would say. So, and the second thing that we have to understand, we unlearned within marketing to enable us, companies, to create a specific price premium so that people are willing to pay more for a product. So I always hear this, the middle market is shrinking. Oh, the guys are so price sensitive. The internet makes everything transparent. Everything is so competitive, blah, blah, blah. If this is true and if we really believe this, then all marketing departments should be closed down. Because the only reason for us guys, for us marketing guys, for us sales guys, is to create something that people are willing to pay money. And I strongly believe that people are heavily willing to pay a fortune for things, but we have to do it proper. It's not the consumers wrong, it's the brands and the companies who are doing this wrong. And I do this with an example that I like a lot and that you all have experiences with, and probably that also prepares us a little bit for tonight. It's gin tonic, okay? Gin tonic has been made out of alcohol, basically. So alcohol is made out of corn, and this corn is going to be flavored. So basically the ingredients of gin tonic is close to a cent, okay? So if somebody puts it in a bottle, tells a story, says this is out of the Black Forest, blah, 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 we handcrafted it, and so on and so forth, you are standing in the supermarket and say, $35 for a bottle makes total sense to me. So I'm in, okay? So you go to a bar, there's the right music, the right lighting, you have the right ice cubes, and the guy behind the bar gives you the idea that he probably knows more about gin tonic than you do, and you say, $12 for a gin tonic makes total sense to me, I'm in, okay? And then you better maybe take out your notebooks now because you better write that down. I call it the Ushuaia effect. I don't know if everybody's aware of the Ushuaia. I'm very aware of that because I like that place a lot. It's on Ibiza, so there's opening and closing parties. To get in, there's $75 to get in without drinks, to be very clear about that. And the gin tonic at the Ushuaia is 18. And it's probably the worst gin tonic you ever had in your life because it comes in a plastic can, it has horrible tonic water, and everybody says like, that's perfect, $18. I can completely understand why it is $18. And the basic mistake that every company and every manager is doing when it comes to this kind of points and within the projects also that we handle says, yes, that's the extreme version. That's the premium market. That can only be applied to luxury, and that's wrong. If you see the kids there, nobody is able to afford $18 for a gin tonic. They cannot even afford the flight to get there. But they decided badly to say, I'm in, I go there. You can see the same logics everywhere around the globe. So don't tell me that people are not willing to pay money for specific things. If you design an experience, they are willing to be ripped off. So we have to understand that brands in the future, companies in the future, have to manage brand experiences, product experiences, and service experience. That is a new skill set that companies and departments have to enable themselves. And in a perfect world, these kind of 3 dimensions then will be seamlessly interconnected. So, and that's also a very big misunderstanding. Technology will only be the enabler to create a seamless brand, product, and service experience. It is not about technology, especially we here in Europe and Germany have a wrong understanding of when it comes to digitalization technology because we are engineers, right? We are not marketeers. So the digitalization or technology is completely irrelevant because it should stand behind the environment to enable the seamless brand, product, and service experience. I just want to give you three examples. One is for brand experience. That is the football stadium in Stuttgart. It was the end of the season for Mercedes-Benz. They were World Championship in Formula One and also for the DTM. And so we put a complete race course within that stadium, and there was a brand experience, and 45,000 people bought a ticket to get a 2.5-hour branded entertainment show. So just want to give you an example of a great brand experience that was very successful. Another one is this one that I like a lot. This is a store, a pop-up store in London, where you will only be allowed to buy the shoe if you can reach it. If you're not fit enough to get there, it was impossible for you to buy it. This will be the future of retail, by the way, and people love it. Nobody's complaining, okay? People love it. Isn't it a great experience? And my company also runs Nespresso for more than 8 years. I also think Nespresso is, for us, Nespresso is mainly a service experience in terms of customization, in terms of all the flavors, the way that it has been customized. So there are brands who are already doing this kind of things, and we have to understand that this will be, brand, product, and service experience will be the competitive advantage of the future.
So since I'm working in the hotel industry, I would like to show this on an example of how guests of the future will actually demand for hospitality experiences. So first, people were looking for accommodation. So they know where to go, they need a place to sleep. Communication around such is about architecture, about design, the beauty of these hotels. But that's not enough, actually. So people want to understand the vision and the story of such places. Who are the owners? What was their core idea to create such a hotel? But again, it's not enough. People want to know not just the location of the place, but they also want to understand how is the hotel locally integrated. I mean, while cities are becoming the new countries, neighborhoods are becoming the new cities. And people want to understand how can the hotel help me to connect with such neighborhoods. However, this altogether is still not sufficient. At the end of the day, people are traveling to meet like-minded people, and they want to have experiences. So even in the communication of such, you can see the images of a product, of people or the neighborhood, but the experiences is what makes it real. And this is where people tend to focus more and more, especially in the travel industry. Experiences are those little moments that you take home with you after you return from your trip and create memories of such. A mind that is stretched by an experience will never go back to its old dimension. That's you.
It's me?
Yeah. Well, it's not working. Here.
So, where do we go from here? 6 minutes 28. That's what they have left to us, the 15 seconds, guys. So what we have to understand is when it comes to companies retailing or the way we organize sales, let's put it this way, there's one big misunderstanding. Everybody thinks that e-commerce is a problem. If it only would be e-commerce, I would be completely relaxed. Okay? There's something way bigger coming, and whoever thinks that the worst thing is over, it will start right now when it comes to sales and retail. So if you just take into consideration same-day delivery, droning, 3D printing, Internet of Things, virtual reality, new displays at home, nobody will go to the city and buy anything within 10 to 15 years' time. If we don't change our approach, how we sell things or how we do retail. Because as I said, this Einkaufserlebnis is fake news. So we have to understand that buying is over. Fulfillment of demand is over. So we're talking about shopping. We're talking about a fulfillment of desire. So we have to create a new set of KPIs, and I'm allowed to say this kind of things because the last 20 years of my career, I was responsible as a chief retail officer, member of a board, so I know how a P&L of a retail company looks like. Whoever sits in the crowd maybe says, okay, yeah, he's a consultant, he can say silly things like that. I know how that works. I know everything about conversion rate, productivity, but if we still try to increase sales density per square meter out there, we will all fail. It will be about creating a new mindset. It will be about creating experience per cubic meter. It's a new KPI that we kind of invented. Hopefully it sometimes gets into reality. So we have to understand, so Sarah, please just as an example, every retail brand, every brand who has retail distributions or has sales activities out there has to understand that it does not compete any longer within its category or within its product portfolio. It also competes about time, because everything will be able to be delivered to your home much more convenient, much more customized, much more nicely then every retail format from today will be able to do so. So if we want to have an answer on that, we better understand that we compete about time and that it is not efficient enough in the future to be better than the retailer next door. So we have to create kind of a new, I would say, point of experience KPI set where we will manage our retail distributions in the future, because otherwise we will, if we stick to the KPIs board or KPI setup that we have, we will take wrong decisions, and we also at the moment completely wrongly allocate our investments. So I have so many people, so many meetings or so many workshops where I have a new idea for something, and then the customer says, or the managers say, Mark, that's a great idea, but I really don't have the 80,000 euros to do this. But you know, it's not in the budget, I'm very sorry. The same guy leaves the room, goes into the next meeting and confirms 12 million euro of media for Q4. I mean, how crazy is that? We really have to shift money to new approaches because it just has been started. It's getting really ugly from here. It's just the beginning, as I said.
Wow, you made it in time.
Yeah.
That's my last 3 minutes, right?
Right.
I have still 10 seconds to start. So what's next in the travel industry? I mean, people are looking for extreme experiences. This is just one example. I don't know if you recognize, but there's a huge demand for farmland experiences. People love to put their hands in soil. They get tears in their eyes. You know, living in urban destinations, people forgot Mother Earth. And another new big demand that we see is actually shared experiences. I mean, there's a nice saying, which is happiness is only achieved when shared with other people. And we see people are looking to connect with like-minded others, travel together, and share experiences, good or bad. So in the travel industry, usually you know all the main known hotel brands. I don't need to name them, but I'm not sure how many of you know these brands. And these are all new concepts that actually combine work and life and are very community driven. So let us look into an example quickly, which is Rome. Rome is a model that is based on membership. So you can buy a membership and become part of this community, and then you can travel around the world. They have their houses in Ubud, in Bali, in Madrid, in Miami, and many other places. And you always get a room and you always get a desk where you can work. So in the past, when I was 20, what people did was they took their backpack and went away for 4 weeks, and that was just off-site. What the millennials and younger generations today are doing, actually they take their office, which is just a simple MacBook or laptop, and go to such places and travel for an entire year because they can work from everywhere. So these kind of concepts are growing more and more, and they are all experiential and they're all community driven. The Salt Festival is a great example. It's about sustainability, saving the Arctic region, but it's combined with a lot of activities, music, etc., etc. Another very good example is Summit, but actually I don't need to talk about Summit because something we're experiencing here at 50 Seconds is very similar to what these guys are doing in the US. And I love seeing what's happening here in Graz, and well, I hope you enjoyed our presentation.
Gnadenlos rausgemanagt.
Ja. Ich bin noch auf Mikro.
Not only is it about the experience revolution, but also about the special experience of having your time cut short just before you were getting to the point here at 15 seconds. But you made it. Joint effort. Great. And we're glad that you are willing to take some questions from the audience.
Sure.
So maybe to get things started, let me direct one more to you, because it's geared more towards the hospitality side of things. You were saying that the experience becomes more and more vital, and that's something that I realize when I'm traveling. It's not about the sights, it's not about the big things, it's sometimes about really small things that stick in your mind. But that's something deeply individual, something, so how can kind of the industry provide that or kind of facilitate that at least?
Well, I mean, obviously everyone has their own demand and expectations, but experiences are mostly well received when they're surprising. So it shouldn't be planned, it's not on demand actually. You get many things on demand today, but experience is nothing you want to buy on demand. It's something you let yourself fall into, and then you get a surprise, and people want to have new experiences. I mean, Like in the past, people were collecting goods, like I want to have this, I want to have that, I want to this. Now people say, okay, I want to jump from a plane, I want to put my hands in soil, I want to, etc., etc. So they're collecting experience. So I think there is no wrong here. There is enough people that show a demand in that direction, and I mean, businesses should simply provide the best experience they can.
Sure. We have a question back there for you guys.
Yeah. So you talked both about the brand experiences and the retail experiences. What do you see? Who do you see more responsible for hopping on the new trend? Is it more the brand manufacturers or the retail companies?
Well, I think we have to take into consideration that for most industry brands, their retail strategies over the last 10 to 15 years wasn't quite a success. So it always is like, okay, we should do retail, double margin, direct consumer approach, vertical business models, blah, blah, blah. Retail is a tough shit out there, and it's pretty hard to earn money if you do so. Retailing is kind of a specific competency that you have. So I would say, as Bill Gates says it for banking, retailing is essential, but I would say retailers are not essential. So we have to kind of rethink that. So I would say that there will be a lot of approaches from the industry where they probably want to create brand spaces. Yes, I do have some ideas for that, but more importantly, everybody who's in retail today and is really a specialist within its neighborhood, within its city, should offer a space to the industry and says, you know what, we have to understand that probably we will never ever buy anything in physical stores, but you definitely want to go there. So from the sales associate on the floor will be kind of a brand ambassador in the future, and he is not willing to sell you anything because he's not been incentivized anymore. It's not his KPI, but you like to go there because it's great, and you get information, you better understand the product and the brand. So I have a great fantasy for retailers who are nowadays mainly managing their revenue stream about sales productivity, and the future of these retailers will be to get the sponsorship from the industry to offer brand, product, and service experiences that they can do better than the industry brand.
Thanks for tackling that, Marc. Maybe another one. Yeah, right there.
Hi. So my question is, a lot of retailing happens online. So what is your take on improving online experience? I mean, to what extent you can go? What more can you do?
What more?
Online experiencing. You said like retail experiencing when we go to
Yeah.
a shop and
No,
how
I mean, like at the moment that is from the very first beginning on, from e-commerce until today, I would say that has mainly been driven from guys who run technology and software industry. So if you talk to people who are responsible for online stores, they say it is so great. Yesterday, Marc, we were able to increase conversion rate by 0.2%. Isn't that amazing? That's the way we run e-commerce stores at the moment. So I definitely believe that e-commerce has to be much more emotional, and that technology, like I said, AR, VR, other displays at home will definitely help. But I don't see that we are willing to accept an online store that is such a rational approach as they are today. Today they are distribution platforms, and in the near future it will be from a manager who runs an e-commerce store today. He will probably say that is a very inefficient approach of what Marc is saying, but that will be the future, yes. We have to get more emotional on the e-commerce store, but the physical store, again, has to also become more rational, because we don't know anything in the stores about the people. We don't know anything, okay? Whenever anybody says, okay, we have a Wi-Fi tracking, for example, or Wi-Fi sniffing, everybody goes crazy, like, oh my God, we shouldn't do that. But at the same time, the same consumer is like naked in the web every morning, like Google, Amazon. So we don't have any problem to share any information, private information, with the web there. But if we go to the physical store that has a Wi-Fi sniffing, that seems to be a problem. So it's crazy. So both things will happen. Both chains will have to change.
So kind of these interwoven changes. Another question into the retail direction more. Retailers definitely will have to adapt, and there's, especially here in Graz, we're in one of the cities with Europe's highest density of shopping centers per person. So what's the deal going to be there? How is retail going to be developing in that direction?
Well, the great thing, the legacy of these companies when they're building shopping malls is that all the risk of this shopping malls always has been handed over to the guys who were crazy enough to rent out the space, right? It's a 10-year contract, no chance to get out, only by 60% of their contracts, then they start to build. So these guys who were building the real estate, this is a pretty cool business model. And the party is over. The party is completely over. The rents will drop per square meter, and we have way too much shopping centers globally. So way too much. A lot of these shopping centers, it's the inconvenient truth, a lot of these shopping centers will not survive. And it starts in the US at the moment. Hundreds of, like 8,000 stores closed down this year. So something is changing now. So there's great potential for shopping malls, don't get me wrong, if they adapt. But there's too much square meter per inhabitant in nearly every country globally. That's a matter of fact.
Great, we'll have another question.
Do you have an approach for B2B, for example, for an industry?
Approach for B2B?
Yeah, an approach for B2B, yeah. So what you were saying is clear for B2C, so business to customer.
Yeah.
But when it comes to business, what do you think is the future there, or the
Same,
approach
no?
for there,
I mean,
regarding experiences, etc.?
I would say it's pretty much the same. But like, for example, I don't believe that we will have this, for example, we will not have this kind of fairs anymore in the future, where I show you how great I am and what I can do, and then you spend a fortune into the booths and you spend a fortune in all that. If you ask me, I would say that all these fairs have to completely change. All these fairs that we know nowadays in the B2B segment will definitely more go towards something like 15 Seconds, for example, where more community has been approached, where more content is shared, where more networking is there. So that is, if I would be a B2B brand, and if I would reallocate my investments when it comes to sales, for example, I would definitely change when it comes to fairs. You have these kind of platforms will change, and you have to maybe create also your own ones. And everything in the future will be definitely more we have to create more transparency, more co-shared, and more collaboration. And that will also change sales and also relationships to your B2B clients. So I will not talk anymore about clients. I would only talk about partners, from my perspective.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. We'll take one more question.
Can you tell us a little bit more about service experience? Because I think this is the most difficult part of it, because it's all get together with human beings, and it's the one thing that where the expectations of are broken, or the experience, because the service is not that that I expect from the video or the photos.
Well, I mean, in general, I think it's really important that the service is real. So, I mean, what we all don't like is this fake service. I mean, we don't want any monkeys to be trained to do things, because they should do it based on their SOPs. So what we love is people that know about their products, and they do an intuitive service. They give us the information we need in the moment we need it, and they let us just be ourselves when we don't show the interest for such. And I think this is, especially in the hospitality industry, one of the crucial things. It doesn't matter if you serve a plate from the right or the left sides on the table, but it's actually important that you know how the meat is cooked and what ingredients are there, and be able to offer this in a very honest and friendly way.
Imagine a store where you join in the morning and everybody who's on the floor does not want to sell anything to you. Imagine the potential for these people, the way you hire them, the way you train them, the attitude that these people have, what kind of ability that gives to them to create a service experience to you, if they don't need to hit a specific sales target. And I'm not talking about, I'm not a dreamer, don't get me wrong. It will be about, the brand will say, okay, we can run this specific turnover in this specific target group, and I don't care anymore through which channel it comes. That's what we have to understand. Today in every organization, retail against wholesale, against e-commerce, against outlet, against franchise, against what the fuck. That will not be accepted by the clients anymore. Same company, right? Like all the chains. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Marc. Thank you, Serdar.
Thanks.
Great to have you here, and great thanks for your joint effort.
Thank you.
Thank you.